Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure I put this on wrong the last time.
I need to get one. I wonder if we can get one online. Like a because you can get pre-made ones that you don't have to wrap.
Kidding me?
Love it.
Tom? Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I am dressed up for today's kind of coffee chat. You can see I got the famous Tom Selleck on the t-shirt, and I have a bow tie with matching mask from my very good friend Coral, who has offered up her son today for us to have a conversation with. And I'm on my 4th cup of coffee, and so my breath actually scares me more than the corona, so I'm going to take that mask off and I'm safely in my office. Today we are joined by my good friend, Damon Pallan. Damon and I have known each other for 5 or 6 years. He is an accountant in Victoria, British Columbia. He is the accountant that I am most comfortable referring to any of our clients, simply because most accountants suck. Most accountants are bean counters. Damon is a business owner who happens to be an accountant, and I've never really met an accountant that I can have business conversations with strategically, and it just so happens that he brings that financial expertise as well. So, like in these previous interviews, kind of the wrong term for this, we're just going to have a conversation about what's going on from a financial point of view. I'm going to kind of tap into him as one of my trusted advisors on some kind of questions that business owners are probably thinking. And you are voyeurs. You're sitting in on this as if we were having coffee and you were eavesdropping. Without further ado, my friend Damon.
Thanks, Chris. Happy to be here, and I love the bow tie.
Well, thank you very much. Your mom has started me out with bow ties over the years, and when she offered the mask, I thought she was kidding. And so she's a sweet lady, but then when the bow tie came along with it, I don't know if people can see that, but she is Ralph Lauren who? I mean, who the hell's Ralph Lauren? We don't need that loser. We got Coral.
It's funny, I didn't even get an offer for a bow tie or a mask, but so you must be some sort of special.
Well, I think what hasn't been shared with you yet is that you're adopted, and so they're probably not that really tied to you and taking care of you now that you're an adult. I think it's probably best you fend for yourself.
Agreed.
So I think, I've got a ton of questions for you today, and the environment that we're in Canada in particular has been moving. And so, this is Corona time. And so I have some questions for you about that, but I also just questions in general, because it's really hard to find a strategic accountant. A lot of accountants, in my experience, and not to disparage the profession, but a lot are very technical and just bean counters, and they're doing their returns and all of that stuff. You approach things differently, which is what kind of attracted me to you the first time we actually went golfing. I think we met. Didn't we meet golfing?
Pender Island.
Pender Island. We went to Pender Island golfing. And so I remember being shocked that you were an accountant, because you didn't come off like any accountant that I met. And I've met some very different accountants down in Seattle, clients that are down there, but you in particular stood out because you and I were talking strategically, and that's a rare thing to do with accountants. So the first question I have for you is kind of Corona related, but we're going to, if you're okay with it, we're going to move back and forth between questions that are pertinent to right now and then questions in general. But so what's the biggest change you've seen in your clients over the last 4 weeks? Like, what are the concerns you're seeing, or what seems to be front of mind with your clients right now?
Well, the whole Corona thing started out obviously 4 or 5 weeks ago, and really the first phase of it, if you will, was really fear-based of the world is going to end. So it was, all the phone calls I was fielding were a lot of gloom and doom, and oh my God, it's going to be over. Then a week or two later, okay, well we might be okay. There's, as programs were starting to get released from the federal government, it gave some hope, and now we're sort of, swinging a little bit even more further into the positive side of things, if you will, with programs now actually offering, to get cash into the hands of clients. So it's been a real sort of a roller coaster ride for all of us. And, with respect to where the clients are at now, some are gonna not recover from this. I'm lucky that a bunch of my clients that I work with are sort of set up for getting through something like this. I mean, no one's ever really 100% prepared for something like this, but we've put measures in place with a lot of clients to make sure that they've got some financial backing behind them.
What's funny is, not to toot your horn, but I remember you saying to me years ago the importance of having a corporate treasury with cash in it. These are the markets that we do very well in. Right down markets is where we do a lot of business. And it's just been reassuring, because that's something I share with our clients, as well as the importance of having kind of a cash treasury, so that if you have a couple of hiccups, or let's say that your work in progress kind of expands out, which is happening to a lot of people right now, they're having a hard time collecting. Mm-hmm. You've got cash reserves. And fortunately, we're not in a position where we actually have to apply for that government assistance, but you must see the difference between those that have been fiscally responsible in the past, and then those that may have thought, we got a bull run market and things are going to be great forever. We don't actually need to stockpile a money away just in case.
Yeah, there's definitely those types of clients that have maybe not been as careful as they should be. That being said, we've really kind of taken the position with clients to make sure that they are doing everything that they can in order to preserve cash, because times like these, cash is king. So we're looking at other opportunities to develop cash flow for clients, being aggressive with receivable collections as much as you can, looking at these government programs, exploring other avenues of businesses or of their business in terms of, SR and ED credits. Can they apply to get some money back from the government with that? Also looking at cutting the fat, if you will, out of their business, and realizing how much labor and overhead do they truly need in order to operate. And I think this will be a good awakening for some businesses to really kind of see, how much do they truly need in order to operate. And, one of the things I've been really kind of preaching to my clients in this time is, this is the time to work on your business as opposed to in your business. For instance, I've got a couple of clients in the catering business, and the first couple of weeks was, we have to shut down. We don't know what to do. And I said, well, this is the time to hone your policies and procedures and really get your business in a way that when you do fire up again, because they will make it through it, that they're going to be lean and mean and putting more to the bottom line as a result of these, improved policies and procedures.
I was having this conversation with a client yesterday. What's happened with this correction is it has brought to light how many of us, ourselves included, have put innovation to the back burner. So we have a list of 60 training titles that we've been talking about digitizing for 5 years. I never thought there could be a situation where we couldn't go out and train, but I thought, there's a whole new market that could buy, digital products from us if they can't afford to come, in person or one-on-one. And the client I was talking to yesterday, I'm looking at this sheet of 60 titles, and I've been looking at it for 5 years, and immediately kind of get kicked in the privates going, if we had put a little bit of time aside to get this done, we would basically have an online university for business owners right now. You have a little pity party yourself going, I need to get my shite together. But on the other side, you're like, this is a reminder of why we need to always be innovating. You must be seeing clients that are in that two camp, one, turtling, head down, arms in, try not to get in. And the other ones that go, okay, the new norm is not going to be the old norm, so we better get ourselves together and get sorted.
Yeah, and these types of clients are the ones that are becoming innovative, with their businesses and trying to figure out, okay, well, what else can we do to bring in revenue? And some of the stuff I've seen has been awesome, and it's fun to be a part of, and that's the part of the accounting that I really enjoy, which is not so much the numbers but the creative pieces behind it, and saying, okay, well, what can we do with this division, or can we open up this division and really try to push that, and really taking a look at the business as a whole and saying, okay, well, where are the opportunities, and maybe what we thought was good 6 months ago is really not a leader anymore. And we can, push that one to the side or slowly taper it off.
You look at things strategically. So you're not like when you say, like, I'm not just looking at the numbers and going, okay, what number did we put in one box of the file of the return? It seems that you like the strategy part. So it's not a necessary evil to you, but you actually enjoy that. Where did that come from?
Well, when I got into the business, I thought I would be sitting in the closet with my numbers and doing just that. Once I got into it and I started to deal with clients, that were the clients of the firm at the time, and then, progressed to getting my own clients. I've always been a people person, and that just sort of amplified, that people person aspect of me, being able to deal with the clients, help them with all aspects of their businesses. And that's what really draws me to the profession, is the wide variety of clients that I have, and there's a lot of synergies amongst all businesses, but there's a lot of uniqueness to each business as well. And being able to sort of, work with the clients in different aspects of their business, not just the number side of things, which are always very important, but looking at it and looking at the qualitative side of things, how are you dealing with HR? How are you dealing with marketing? How are you dealing, with succession planning? And how are you dealing with all these different, things that go with businesses? And so for me, those are all the things that really attract me to taking a more strategic approach and really helping the clients out. Because the tax returns need to get filed, and the GST returns and all that sort of stuff, the compliance aspect of it, that's part of the job and will always be part of the job. But it's really getting into helping the clients and being their trusted advisor and sort of, being that quarterback of the client's team in order to pull the other professionals together and make sure we're working toward that common goal of helping the clients, ultimately succeed and allowing them to focus on what they're good at.
Well, I guess you being a business owner as well, being an accountant, but you also own a business. So you're thinking of advertising and marketing and sales and HR and commercial space and all of that. And I guess what's often lost on me as kind of a sales and BD guy is there's really no part of a business that isn't touched financially, right? So you think of HR and you think of people, but you have to also think compensation, bonuses, retention, all of that, advertising, same thing. I always think, what's the client engagement? What's our ROI? But when I think ROI, I'm not thinking cash, I'm thinking time investment, right? Like where could we be? But is there any area of business that doesn't have some type of a financial touch point?
Not that I've come across.
Right. Yeah.
Everything, like you say, does have an impact on the bottom line, whether it be directly or indirectly. And,
right.
The HR piece is a good one because, yes, you have to be worried about compensation, but it's also motivation. So if you are not motivating your staff and giving them the tools, which again is a financial aspect of it, you're losing or could be losing a bunch of money that you don't know that you're losing. So if you're not engaged in that aspect of, the business, then you truly, it's difficult to quantify until you get into it and say, okay, well, I'm going to change these policies from an HR standpoint and really motivate the client or the staff members. And then I'll be able to really see, well, hey, I can do a bunch more with this now.
And so let's go back to February 24th. How has your role changed with your clients from February 24th to April 24th? Are you hearing more from them, less from them? Are they asking deeper questions? Fear probably plays a bigger role in maybe those conversations, but how have you seen your own role transition in the last 2 months?
Yeah, definitely hearing from clients a lot more, especially as these federal and provincial assistance programs are being rolled out. The Prime Minister or the Premier will go on to do their press conferences in the morning and then, roll out some new programs, and ultimately 10 minutes later, the phone will start ringing. So I've been on the phone a lot. I'm normally on the phone quite a bit anyway, this time of year being tax season, but it's definitely been amplified as a result of all of all of this Corona stuff that's come out. It's really changed more to cash management and how do we survive and how do we get through this as best as possible. Whereas before, February 24th, if we looked at the same last 5 weeks last year, it would be more on, heavily on the tax planning side of things, looking at other aspects of the business more so than just survival, cash management, and taking advantage of these programs. I mean, it all reverts back to that cash is king concept, and
Right.
and with the clients now not having an abundance of cash and sort of they could have been a little more loosey-goosey, if you will, in terms of their financial or fiscal responsibility, and now they're definitely honed in a bunch more, which is a good thing, because I think it gets, like you say, it gets people back to a little bit more grounded and centered, and then sort of thinking, okay, well, how can I build this business and make sure that I've got a plan in place and succession planning and retirement top of mind, because I think a lot of people, when it's good, the future is not as important as when it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's bad, now all of a sudden people are going, oh, well, I got to be a little bit more careful, because it's not just the endless gravy train that they're used to.
But so if a client comes to you, Damon, and they're like, okay, here's the situation, we're the gap, right? Like we're not going to be able to weather this storm,
Mm-hmm.
right? So our time is done, and the question is, do we kill it in a month or do we kill it in 6 months? What's the process? And granted, we're hoping that anyone listening to this isn't in that situation, but Morgan Stanley is forecasting a 40% business failure rate,
Mm-hmm.
which means companies that close down will not open up. And so if I was in that situation with a client, what I would say is, what are the chances of you surviving? Or if you furlough, can you come back up? If you know, and they know, and you know what I mean, like, if it's going to die. What's the process, or what's the advice that you walk somebody through respectfully for them to be able to shutter with dignity? Like, what has to happen? Do they make sure their taxes are paid for? Like, there's certain things you can get out of a lease if you're going out of business. But so what are the steps, I guess I'm asking, because I hope it doesn't happen, but if it does, what are the steps a business goes through if they know that they're just on borrowed time?
Well, there's quite a few different steps to go through, and I'll sort of touch on them briefly as best I can. I actually had this conversation with a lawyer yesterday. We have a mutual client that we need to have that awkward conversation with, and that's part of my role as being more of a strategic advisor and being a people person. Being able to have those conversations candidly, respectfully, and say, hey guys, tear the Band-Aid off. It's done, and it's not a matter of if, it's when it's going to fail. So in order to, protect your personal interests, it's better to, let's look at options at how we wind this down. I'll have conversations with the client, look at all the legal side of things, with the lawyer that's involved, and say, okay, do we have any personal exposure? Are we personally guaranteed on these commercial leases? Most commercial leases you will have a personal guarantee on. So what are your risks and liabilities there? And then, what do we need to do to bring terminal filings up to date? Do we have any allowable business investment losses? So if you invest in your own business and it goes under, there are some tax benefits that can be reaped down the road for that. So, we look at that side of things, and then we look at,
Hold on a second, quick question. So can you carry losses forward even if you close your business?
But there are ways to do it, yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So if you had made investments in your company,
yep,
and it goes out of business, you might be able to personally carry those forward.
You bet.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we look at all those types of things. What do we do with the staff? How do we deal with the staff in a way that is honorable and moral? Because there's a way to do that. Because if they do fire up again, and hopefully they will, then you want to leave on good terms, right? And sometimes business owners will get a little bit clouded because it's their baby that they've built, and they're not maybe making sensible, logical decisions because they're crowded with emotion. And it's our job to then step in and say, okay, this is the reality and the logical side of it. Forget emotion for a sec. This is what needs to happen. Here's how we can help you do it.
I think that's what's the old saying? I'm going to mess it up, but kind of like you can't bet your tomorrow's future on today's emotions.
Yep.
And so you have to kind of be mindful. My dad always used to say, that he wished every business owner went bankrupt by the time they were 30.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's such a crazy thing, but it's funny because I failed in a number of business models, right? Where I put them in place and, due to the wrong partners, wrong timing, wrong market, like I missed something. I don't have any issue. I mean, that I failed more than anyone I know has tried, but because of those failures is actually what made me strong. Is I know all the danger zones, because not only did I see them, I walked in them, got naked, and swam around in them. And so pretty comfortable with all the wrong things to do. And I remember the first time that I had to shut down a company that got, beat like a rented mule. I remember being really embarrassed and nervous for anyone to know. But in that is the lesson, like rich people have experience from making poor decisions. And so even people that are caught up today, this might be the end of the company, but it's not the end of you.
No, failure is the hardest thing to accept and go through, but it's the best learning tool for sure.
Right. So on that, do you have a failure you want to share?
Many.
Okay, and so kind of before, and can you believe our hour is almost up? Thank you, by the way, because I know it's tax season, although you've got a practice that's pretty well managed during all times. What are if I was to say to you, I've got my clients listening in on this, what are the 3 pieces of advice you would most want people to know right now?
I think the first one would be listen to the trusted advisors you have engaged in order to help you through this whole pandemic. I think
Okay.
I think listening and being coachable would be the first one. Second one is being fiscally responsible and taking a hard look at your expenses, your cash, and what that future looks like. I think the third is to remain positive. I think the negative thoughts, and everyone has them, and especially this time of this time in the world that we're facing, with all the media and the CNNs of the world, it's the world's ending, every 5 seconds. And I think to remain positive and focused on the business that you have and what you're doing is key, because your mind can get easily clouded with a bunch of other noise that doesn't need to happen and will, ultimately inhibit you from progressing.
And I think just to add to that, because I think those are brilliant. And actually, I wrote those down because I'm going to be mindful of those as well. I think kind of the fourth thing for people to be thinking about, kind of given the current situation, is that this is not going to end tomorrow. And so this is going to be the foreseeable future, and there is no return to where we were. And so things will not go back to normal. We have evolved. And I think the fifth thing is you have to plan for the future, well, being kind of also based in the current. What do I have to do right now? But where do I want the business to be in a year? And I find that too few people are doing future projections because they're like, I'm just trying to survive. If you're just trying to survive, you're looking for a lifeguard rather than a swim instructor. And so back to your first point about, being coachable by the advisors you have in place, or if you don't have a good accountant, find a good accountant that can kind of strategically advise you, but not just focus on what's happening now, but also where do I want this company to be in the year? It's never been more important to plan than right now.
You bet, 100%.
Okay, listen, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to put back on my mask to say goodbye to everyone. And everyone stay safe. I don't know if you can even hear me. My beard is out of control. But anyway, Damon, thanks as always for joining. And if you're open to it, what I'm going to do, I can't talk with that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put Damon's information down in the bottom of this video under the notes. If you're open to it, Damon, if people have questions, maybe they can email you, or else maybe they can ask it in the comment thing, and I'll just let you know. I monitor those pretty closely, but I think a lot of people have questions right now, and they might not have an accountant that's thinking strategically, and so maybe you could add just a little bandwidth to that.
100%. Happy to do that.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions that I can answer, I'll monitor those. But anyway, thanks for watching, and stay safe. Gladiators eat first, so get after it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.